What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Baywatch's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Fans Hobby Tsunami, which is on loan to Bobby from Richard H. Couldn't make the last one work, but shout out to him. As a heads up, because I feel like I gotta go through this every time, I don't know anything about this character. I know that his name is Tidal Wave, right? But I don't know anything about this. Simultaneously, I'm not interested in learning about it. Just to be honest, people always want to educate me, and I appreciate you wanting to educate me. And perhaps one day I will offer up something that I would like some education on. This will not be that. But I am anxious to have a look at this guy because I think the Hasbro one looks better, just aesthetically. I don't know which one is more accurate and everything, because like I said, I don't know anything about the character. But I have done a whole sit-down Saturday on the Hasbro version on Patreon, which you can check out, and kind of talked about him in comparison to this one a bit. And I find the Hasbro one to be more impressive, which is, I think, maybe a first. So I wanted to put hands on this, so to speak. Honestly, probably just to have the most sort of educated opinion on it as I could, given my previous content. So let's go ahead and get started, but we'll start with accessories, per usual. So you get two jets, two mini-cons. You have red paint on this guy on the wings, gold paint on the cockpit there. No room for the purple line work throughout, which is kind of a bummer, right? Like, it would have been nicer if the gold was painted. Maybe that's not accurate, but it would have been nice if the gold was painted and that purple was painted over top on that part to kind of break it up a little bit, but whatever. The whole robot's visible underneath. This guy, you can fold these wings down for one. Same thing with the gold cockpit, and then you get a little bit of stuff underneath there. Nothing really crazy. All of these have functions with the vehicles, so you can mount them to the aircraft carrier, which is pretty cool. There's one here for the other one as well. You can flip up these things, and there's two of them, and then put this guy there, and then hit this button, and it'll actually launch the jet like off the aircraft carrier, which I think is awesome. You know, it comes out with some force too. Like, I think that's pretty well done. And lastly, for this one, you can open up this space here and sort of fold up the wings. I think you can do it with both. Flip back, which is basically the transformation too, but I'll show you that separately. And then put that in there, and then close this up. And I have it a little off center, but it should close up nicely. It might only work with this one. Let's go ahead and try, just because we're here. Same transformation, doesn't take all day, does it? Yeah, so that one works much nicer. So on this one, you have, once again, those little mounts there that you can put your jets on. There's no function to this, but they can just sit there, much like the aircraft carrier. And then on this one, you can mount your jet to that and then move that back and forth, and it rotates the turrets, which is kind of cool. It won't take much of a engineering degree to work out the transformation here. Just fold the wings back, fold the cockpit back, and then you have most of the robot here. He looks a little short, doesn't he? No problem. Just extend the legs. I said no problem. And then fold the wings back, and you get a little fella here. And his arms are on little ball pegs, get you out to 90 degrees, 360 around until you bump into the backpack. Elbows are on single pin hinges, up to 90 degrees. Head rotates, and then you have orange, like an orangish face cover and gold eyes painted on. There's just some silver on the chest. I'll give it to him. Silver and gold. And then the hips are pinned. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They're on ball pegs, so they get you out to there. Forward and back to there. Pinned knees that get you 90 degrees. Pretty much the same thing here. Flip the wings up, cockpit back. Looks a little short, doesn't he? For a stormtrooper. Extend the legs, same thing, and the articulation is identical. You get the silver paint on the chest, and then the reddish, orangish paint on the faceplate, and gold paint on the eyes. Now, in the instructions, even on the box art, it has like these two gray missiles that are supposed to come with it. I can't find them at all. Like, and I've looked through here. Like, I don't see them. But theoretically, you would load them into this chamber and then press this button, and they would fire. So that's a bit of a bummer. I'm going to have to alert Richard to that. Now, in addition to the missiles, I think he's supposed to come with swap-out faces not only for himself, but for the Armada Megatron. But I don't see those in the box either. So I don't know if they just didn't make it to me or they didn't make it in the box. I will try to put a comment in the comments and then pin it after I touch base with Richard to see if I hear anything. And then gimmicks-wise, there's a light-up feature for his eyes, but obviously I don't have that. So let's go ahead and get into this. So, I mean, aside from, like, what this thing does with accessories and, you know, the mini-cons and have you, there's not a whole lot to talk about with these guys. I will go through it for the sake of it, but there it is next to Tiger Tracks, just so we can get that sort of out of the way. You know, so hopefully that gives you something to work with that way. I reorganized my little basement area here recently, so actually I could do a little bit more, but not another day. But we'll go through it just for the sake of it. So we have, for this guy, this translucent plastic up here at the kind of like viewing station or whatever, like the, what do they call that? It's not the cockpit, right? But the equivalent thereof for, so here's an example of something I would like a little education on. For like, you know, like the Navy and stuff, like when they had this little area, what is that area called? Viewing port? Captain's quarters? I don't know. So, nice paint. Silver paint. Metallic looks fantastic. Yellow paint looks great, clean. Yellow paint's hard to do. They went with like a yellow orange, which probably made it a little easier, but as a result, looks fantastic. No issues there. Nothing really to talk about. Probably could have given you a little bit of paint details there. They didn't. As a result, that looks a little cheesy. But that will probably do it for this guy. And then we have our aircraft carrier, which is my favorite one because it actually looks like something. You know, it looks like it's supposed to be a thing. Nice, clean purple line work here. That's not a knock on Fans Hobby, by the way. That's just a knock on the design because I think all of them kind of look like this. You do have this little bit here. Dainty. Be careful. I can see this breaking, but you know, that spins, which is nice. And then yeah, underneath you get some fingers there, but I think the fingers actually look okay. Not really a whole lot left to say about that one either. This one has a little bit to talk about. So you have two little viewing stations there. You have these wings, so they can go down and sort of face forward, but you can also spin them and make this more of a jet, I guess, type of thing. You know, it almost looks like a really, it almost looks like a raft or something that like the SEALs, like Navy SEALs would get in, like, you know, because of the shape of this, like the blow up, you know, like the inflatable bits. Nice silver thrusters here on the back, which is far nicer than what we got there. So I'll take that. Silver details painted there. The orange, yellow, purple-ish paints are all done clean. No issues. A little bit of extra love there too, which is nice. And then the silver line work inside looks good. Lighter gray there looks good. So yeah, I mean, nothing really, you know, mind-blowing, but nothing bad either. Now, this is meant to turn into armor for Armada Megatron. I obviously don't have that, and can you imagine if I did? Gross. But just kidding. Anyway, we'll go through the transformation anyway, just in case people want to see it. So you're going to fold down your satellite here, your antenna, be very cautious, and then you're going to push that down. It is loaded. This can be used also to kind of bring it down. Just make sure that that lands nicely in there, and then take this little panel here and flip it over. For this guy, you got to separate this. You'll see that it's got two legs here. All right, that's just a screw cover. Goes right there. I did not break that. That is not broken. I'm going to set that to the side for just a second. And, all right, what do we got to do here? All right, so open this up. Take this. Bring this out. And then we got a lot of flaps to flip. So flip the flap. 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 Same thing on this side. We're going to open this up, flip the flap, 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 flip the flap. Then rotate at the thighs. Oh, I guess let's bring these down first. So slide down your knees, and then we're gonna rotate at the thigh. So slide down the knee, rotate at the thigh. Mine only wants to go one way, which is a little strange. Bring these out, make sure your wings are straight, and these are like your connection ports here. All right, that's good. Then you would take this, you peg this into the back of Megatron's back with these two pegs here, which he has ports for. And then this section slides onto one arm, and then that section slides into the other, and he wears them like both on his forearms. And I don't have the Megatron to show you, but that's how it works. Now there is another option where you can take off these. I'll just show you one because I only have one. I mean, I have both obviously, but I only have one robot to work with. All right, so take this piece here and flip that around, and then you just open up this section and you slide the foot in and close this on the foot, and then he has a bigger foot, you know, is basically. All right, so let's transform him back. Just flip this out to the other side, and then peg this back in. It has like C-clips and stuff. There we go. We're going to, once again, rotate at the thigh 180. This thing is not the right size, so I'm setting that to the side. All right, and then slide out our knees. And then, oh shoot, got a little ahead of myself. Open up this section here. Open up this section here. You're gonna want to, that's my dog going nuts. Fold that over, fold the top flap over, fold that in, close this up. Open this up, fold this over, that over, that over, that over. Put in your little pegs there. And then combine that back together. I'll make sure that's all nice and taut. For this guy, you can go ahead and leave all that the same and just rotate these things down. And then for this guy, all you want to do is rotate these two. Whoa, that does not feel good. These two pieces out to the side. No, that's not it. You got to do one other thing. All right, so they're to the back. And then you got to kind of like angle this, and we can go ahead and connect this. So we have to get the ports here onto there, which is not that hard, right? Yes. And then that's done. I'm going to set this to the side. And this guy didn't really have to go all the way back, but I just thought it'd be easier. So we're going to open this back up, open this, open this. We're going to open these flaps back up. I guess I shouldn't have. But now we need to bend this. This one right here, be a little cautious of. The connection point's way down here. There's a tight little tolerance, and there's just a lot of torque. All right, and then you want to make sure that this is like folded inward, which is not my favorite thing. Oop. Speaking of not my favorite thing. All right. What do we got to do? Open the flap. Open the flap. Flip the flap. Flip the flap. Bend the flaps. Tuck the flaps in. And then I think you can just put these back if I'm not mistaken. And then we're gonna bring in this section. This has kind of 2 pegs and then 2 clips here. And then this comes around and there's like a peg here that will peg in, and that should get the toe rather, in the right spot, because there's a peg on the toe that will line up with this section here that I can't really see, but I'll do it off camera. So same here. And then line up there. I got that one, so I can show you one. And that's that. I'll clean it up. We'll take a look at it. All right, so let me show you next to Tiger Tracks. Get that out of the way. Big old unit. Otherwise, your Minicons can kind of do the same sort of stuff, and it doesn't really have anything else to offer that we haven't already talked about. It is pretty solid, though. Like, it stays stuck together relatively solid, which is nice. I dig that about it. Otherwise, I don't really have a whole lot to say. I mean, we've talked about most of the elements of the paint apps and features, so I think that's it. All right, so let's go to robot mode. We're going to free up the feet. Be careful with this tab here. Rotate this down. We're going to fill out that panel. We're going to spin the thigh 180. Remember, like, oh, now this one wants to go both ways, so to speak, so that's nice. And this flap here needs to flip over here on the toe, and then slide the knee down, and then flip this panel over. We'll talk about that a bit later. Now, for the... you just open them up, and then we do the same thing on this side. So once again, free up that toe, be mindful. Come down. We can flip up this little panel here while we have a better look at it. We can extend these panels here. And I think we can go ahead and collapse this, give you a better look at that also. And then rotate the thigh 180, flip this panel over, open up the, and I think that's it. Take these pieces and flip them back in, and then rotate, split, sorry you can't really see this, split the arms up here, and then that should give you the wiggle room to rotate this section here 90 degrees so that you have access to the waist swivel. And I should have just done it this way. And then you need to pull this out, so to speak, just in case, and then rotate this down. All right, so now let's get these arms sorted. Make sure that the purple moves around the bend there, so to speak. And then rotate it at the bicep. And then you can rotate the thumb wherever you want. And then same here. Sorry if you didn't see that. It's just rotating there. And then we need to get access to his head, so to speak. So just open that up, flip his head up, spin it around, close that up. There we go. Done and done. I'll clean him up. We'll take a look at him. And we'll get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis. So we had the purple paint over black plastic on the crest. We had the silver paint on the face. The eyes are not dead, even though they have the light up feature, theoretically, which is nice. The head seems to be on a ball peg, so you get a little bit of confused tidal wave look. The swivel, little bit up, little bit down. Nothing kind of crazy. Let's go ahead and back out, and we'll look at one arm. So to get outward movement on the arm, the joint would be here, and that gets you out to 90 degrees. However, it does look a little crazy because the bulk of the arm sits way up over top of this purple thing, so to speak. I don't know how that sits with you guys, but holds it with a ratchet. Then we have the around joint is actually on this piece. That's a much harder ratchet, and that gets you 360 around. Paint deco is the same for vehicle mode. We have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbow that gets you the full run, and then the fingers. Let's see if we can't drop down the camera a bit. The fingers, the thumb is on a hinge. The fingers are individually articulated at a base pen knuckle and then a secondary and tertiary knuckle. Let's see. Okay, while we're here, obviously you can have these out. I think they're supposed to be. And then you have your waist swivel. It is very limited because of the way that this section fits inside of the crotch, so to speak. But you do have, like, I don't know, 5 degrees, 10 degrees maybe. So it's something. Let's back out. Take a look at the hips. So they're ratcheted universals. They get you out to 90 degrees, so the full Van Damme. They don't hold great, but it's a light robot, so it shouldn't make that big of a difference. And then soft ratchets forward and full range back for the full Monty. You have a thigh swivel. So you have two. One at the hip joint and then one at the thigh, but mine gets caught up on something. It will go, you see, but it gets caught up on something. So there's some sort of clearance issue there, and probably a QC thing. Not, I wouldn't say it would necessarily be indicative of yours. Silver pistons on the thighs look good. Knees, double jointed for past 90 degrees. Otherwise, deco-wise, we've already talked about. I wanted to talk about that too. All right, and then we have ankles. So toe tilt down. Oh, there's little mats on the bottom of the feet to help with the standing, so that's nice. You have a rocker, a toe rocker really, but it works. And then you have a swivel. You can also have the knees up higher. He's a little spindly to begin with, so that's not going to help. But if you wanted him to be larger, I mean, it looks ridiculous to me either way, but you can have him larger, you know what I mean? So to speak. So, I don't know, something to think about, I guess. It's fine. Size comparison wise, like I don't really have anything that necessarily goes with this guy, but there he is with Sunstreaker, like a MP car, and one of their Headmaster Juniors. So maybe that means something to you. Maybe that you can make sense of that. But I don't really know how he fits in with any sort of Armada piece. I guess fine enough with their Megatron, right? Because that's supposed to work, but that's about all I can tell you. Final thoughts wise, let's start with the negative. It's a very light bot, and there are some like flimsy components to it, like in the knees, for instance, and around the waist area, which doesn't lend itself to being the most posable bot. Now, as you can see, you can get away with stuff, no problem, but it doesn't just naturally lend itself that way in sort of any way, shape, or form. I'm not crazy about the proportions of it, but I also don't know what it's supposed to look like, so they might be accurate. There's limited articulation in the waist. I think there's a wrist swivel that I didn't talk about also. Yes, there's a wrist swivel. I don't think I mentioned it. So that's nice. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel premium. It doesn't feel like an elite piece. It feels cheaper than I think it actually is. Now that's subjective, but it is my opinion on it. I don't find it to be incredibly successful. I'd actually like to take a look at the Hasbro one now, just to sort of have it to compare to in my head, but I don't know if it would be worth looking at now. I don't know how old it is or whatever. But I would say, I guess the best way to say, like, I'm not impressed in any way, shape, or form by this. That doesn't mean it's not without its merits. There's plenty of good things to say about it, which I'm going to say here shortly, but I would not color myself impressed. Real quick, a couple more negatives I forgot to mention. So, like, even like the thigh swivel not moving appropriately, this little like screw cover thing coming out, it just doesn't give you good warm and fuzzy feelings. It doesn't give you that feeling of like you paid good money for something and you got a good product in return. Anyway, moving on, the paint is sharp and clean. There's not a ton of it, but where it's done very well. I love the engineering of it. Like, it's easy thing to kind of flip back and forth, works smoothly. One of those transformations where you can almost do the while you do it because it's just easy enough, which makes it fun in my opinion. There is a lot of articulation in there despite the few hangups I had. Double jointed knees, double jointed elbows, full range hips, stuff like that. Good ankles too as well. I like a lot of like the Minicon gimmicks and stuff. I think that they were incorporated well. I love the fact that his eyes aren't dead and still have the light up feature. And I like the super combined alt mode, like where they all three come into one as an alt mode. I think that that's pretty successful. But unfortunately, there's just not enough good here for me to recommend this. I'm just not taken by it. I'm not wowed by it. And I don't think that you will be either. Sorry. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.